all kinds of issues. Wait for some people to jump in here. Duke and I were very bored, so we thought we'd go live for a little bit. I want some people to jump in here and do an audio test. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Hello, Rebel. Okay, we got people jumping up in here. Can you hear me good? Yeah, so my family's in Nashville at the Brandon Lake concert, so I'm at home dog sitting, and Duke and I got bored and tired of editing and thought we'd take a break and jump on here with you guys. A lot of you guys submitted your questions earlier, so I'll take some of these questions and try to answer them, and then also take some questions here in chat. Hopefully you guys are all having a wonderful Saturday. I got my coffee and my chapstick. So anybody doing anything exciting this Saturday? Some people from Kentucky. Yeah, I'm editing. I'm going back and forth between two different episodes. The family we worked with in Illinois, and then the Randolph County Infirmary we went to a couple weeks ago. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between those two episodes. Probably have the Randolph County Infirmary wrapped up first. You guys can hear Tucker in the background. The only time Tucker ever moves out of his bed is whenever I go live. So if you hear anything jingling around in the background, that is Tucker. So a lot of people have been asking, I think the first question I had was from Jackie Neiman. I know you have been working with Sammy and his family. Do you think the case will stay closed? I really feel for this family. I just got done talking with older Sam. They're both named Sammy. I call it Sam, the older one, Sammy, the younger one. I just got done talking to Sam. The family's still doing good. They said Sammy seems a lot happier since the cleansing. They are going to work on painting the walls, fixing the holes, and just get a brighter environment inside the house. So that's stuff that they're going to work forward with. A lot of times when we finish with cases, obviously we advise the families on steps they can take to make sure things don't come back and just change the environment inside their house. So they're definitely going to be painting over all the graffiti and stuff on the walls. And like I said, Sammy, as of 10 minutes ago, he's doing good. He's definitely a lot happier. So thank you guys all for your prayers for the family. I know they greatly appreciate it. And then the second most requested question we had, which I figured that question would be coming, is our thoughts on the Annabelle doll and what transpired with the death of the gentleman. And really, it's nothing that we've never been in contact with the Annabelle doll. We've never seen it. We've never been to the museum. Obviously, we know the history of it. I am a huge fan of Ed and Lorraine Warren with the work that they did. And I think they were kind of the pioneers into what we do today. So a lot of the stuff that we learned was through studying, cases and interviews and writings and books and stuff with Ed and Lorraine Warren. I know they probably wouldn't advise taking the doll out on tour, but as far as I could tell, the owners of the doll and the gentleman who was taking care of it was taking all the safety precautions. But I just have a problem, I guess, sometimes with something true, if it's truly demonic. And like I said, I've never been around the doll, so I know as much about it as you guys do. And I'm just thinking if it's truly that evil and that demonic and what Ed and Lorraine Warren were saying about it, then it probably just needed to stay there locked away and not being dragged all over the country for innocent people to see. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but and obviously you have no way of knowing if the death would have happened with or without the doll. I mean, our thoughts and prayers to the family, and hopefully everybody is safe. And yeah, that was just my big thing is taking something that's demonic and taking it across the country for people to basically idolize it. I think is just sends the wrong signal. And if it was truly that dangerous, why would you put innocent people in danger? And I know they did take precautions, but you could take all the precautions in the world, but you just never know what could happen. Now, I do believe that objects can be haunted. I believe that a lot of the cases we do have to do with haunted objects, um, whether that be just the home or an object in the home. Um, we've been around haunted dolls. We've investigated haunted dolls. You guys know we investigated the Hope doll in West Virginia and had some very strange things happen. So I do believe that entities, especially demonic entities, can attach itself to items. I also believe items can just in general hold energy. Doesn't necessarily have to be anything demonic or evil, but just that energy being attached to that item. So yeah, let's get with another question here. This is from Stacy White. Um, did you like being on the TV show on YouTube with the Alone series with the other 15 YouTubers and other places? I did enjoy that. I know Sean had a good time. It was just something that um, we had downtime in between family haunting cases, and anytime you get to be in a haunted location alone, I always find that fascinating. So yeah, we definitely had a good time with the series. Enjoyed working with everybody, and I think it was a very well done thing. I think the only thing I would have liked is each episode be one specific location, one person, not bouncing back and forth between two or three individuals. But other than that, I enjoyed it and had a good time. I think we've investigated the speakeasy maybe two times prior to me going there alone, so I had a good idea of what to expect when I was there investigating. Um, Super old building, a lot of just your knocking, disembodied voices, reports of shadows. So definitely a creepy old building. Okay, let's get on here. Ramona, she's got a big question. She said, I don't know if I'll be able to make the Q&A session because I'm doing dog training, but I do have a question. Do you ever have nightmares after investigations? If so, how do you deal with them and rid them? I do have nightmares on a regular basis. I know Rocky and Sean also have nightmares quite a bit. That's just something that we've always dealt with since we were children. When we started experiencing our haunting that we went through. So one would think if you went through something like that that was extremely traumatic, that you would want to take a different path in life. But with everything that we went through as kids, it was something that always fascinated us because we had a lot of questions. And that's really what got us into the paranormal. We didn't know anything about investigating, we didn't know anything about filming or editing or anything like that. And we just had a lot of questions about, because even when you do go through stuff like that, you still have questions like, what the hell did I just experience? Is this real? Am I crazy? I think everybody that goes through a traumatic paranormal experience, that's the first question, is you always start questioning your sanity. So for us, it was more of a fact-finding mission. And I remember we were in Kent, Ohio. I think it was the Hardin County Historical Museum. We were all three up on the second floor, pitch dark. Back then, like camcorders, night vision camcorders sucked. And let me turn on some light here. Let's turn this down just a tad. Oh, don't want to do that. Oh, try and get some good light here. But back then, we just had crappy night vision cameras. So I remember the three of us, we were standing up in the second floor hallway. It was a long hallway, doors on both sides. It was an old house that was converted into a museum. There's a cat outside, so Duke might go crazy. But so we're standing there dark, and we're like terrified to even ask any questions. This is like legit our first investigation together. And we remember hearing these footsteps, like a woman wearing high heels, just slowly walking down the hallway, getting closer and closer. And as the footsteps got closer and as she got closer, I remember the three of us kind of huddled together, and I'm pretty sure we had our arms wrapped around each other. And the footsteps maybe got 3 feet in front of us and just stopped. And I think it was Sean turned on a flashlight real quick and pointed it right in front of us down the hallway, and there was nothing there. And it was after that experience that we were hooked. I guess we had the paranormal bug, and that's what. After that, we just started investigating local haunted places. And like I said, we were very new to the paranormal. And this is dating all the way back to 2003. And there was really nothing on TV at that time. I don't think there was anything. Because I think Ghost Adventures started around 2006. They released their first documentary. Paranormal State might have been on at that time. So we were basically just soaking up anything paranormal related, reading books, watching TV shows, documentaries, and just trying to learn as much about the paranormal as possible. And it was probably 2 years we were contacted by a friend of ours and said, hey, my sister, she's got some things going on at her house. You guys want to go investigate it? And we went, we investigated there. And back then, I would say that probably the first couple of years, we never did cleansings or anything like that. We always brought individuals in to cleanse the home for us. It just wasn't something that we felt comfortable doing. And so we worked several years. We did a few other cases. We did a few more family hauntings. And it was a family over in, I think it was Greenwood, Indiana, 2000, I believe it was 2007. Did the investigation, had a friend of ours come in, do the cleansing. And it was a few days later, the family reached out to us and, wanted to thank us for helping them, and everything had stopped. And that was really, I think it was just the first email from somebody being relieved from the activity that they were experiencing and finally having peace is what really gave us the passion to start working with families. And although we do enjoy going into haunted locations and investigating because we enjoy the paranormal, but just doing family hauntings is something that we truly have a passion for. We fell in love with just filming and editing and the whole process and telling people stories and then sharing their stories with you guys. We had no desire to do anything on social media. Back then, YouTube had just started, I think, in 2006. We uploaded a couple really short videos on YouTube. They were like 6 minutes. They were just EVP based, and it was really to get the viewers' thoughts on what we documented. And that's how we learned is we would post a video and we would read your guys' comments and your feedback, what you guys enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy. Some of you guys would be like, don't ever do that again, and we would never do that again. And others would be like, we want to see more of the history. So we started sharing more of the family's story, and that's kind of how the show got started. Um, so yeah, we did that all the way up to 2000. I'm going to say 2016. We completely lost access to our YouTube channel. We were about ready to cross over to 100,000 subscribers. Back then, 100,000 subscribers was a good mark. There weren't any paranormal channels on YouTube with those types of numbers, so that was something obviously we were proud of, and we lost completely access to everything. So we went from 2000, I think that was 2015. We went from like 2015 to 2017, um, fighting with Google to get access back to our account. And we finally in 2017 said, screw it, let's just start a new channel. Um, let's start a new series, Paranormal Nightmare. And that's since 2017, we've had this channel. And as you guys have seen, you guys have all helped grow this channel, which we are greatly appreciative of. But yeah, YouTube was just, back then, people didn't make money off of YouTube. At least we didn't know how to make money off YouTube. So it was definitely not a money thing. We were working 10, 12-hour days. And then whatever extra money we would have left over, we went out and worked with families, and we used that for gas and a lot of weekends and sleeping in truck stops and rest areas and all that fun stuff. But the one thing that we really wanted to do is, if, when we made the decision that we were going to work with family cases, one is we would never ever charge a family, and we would never ever take money from a family. So even like during the times when we were rubbing pennies together trying to get enough gas money, when families would try to offer us gas money and stuff like that, we still said no. And that's something that we're proud that we stuck with, for 23 years. And that's a lot of what we do on YouTube. Obviously, we film a show. Our show's on Amazon and Tubi and a lot of other streaming networks, as well as YouTube. And that's basically how we fund traveling across the country, helping people and doing what we can do. So that's a little bit of the story on how we got started. Let's see if Romana had any other questions. Oh, she asked about nightmares. I went off on a rant and never even talked about nightmares. Yeah, we do have nightmares. Nightmares is something we started having when our haunting started when we were children. We would definitely have a lot of nightmares. I always had one specific nightmare. It was, what would happen is I would be asleep and I would be in this like fireball traveling through space. It was like pitch black around me. And it was just felt like I was going a million miles an hour. And then all of a sudden the fireball would stop and it would just fall out of the sky. And this dream was reoccurring over and over again. And every time I woke up from the dream, I would be in the hospital, no idea what's going on. I'd have IVs, I would have ice packs on me, and I would be running like 103, 104 temperature, and they could never find any explanations about that. I remember they would always run tests on me, hooking me up to probes. They have like these sticky things, and they could literally make you like start sweating and different parts of your body twitch and things like that. So they were running all kinds of tests and couldn't figure anything out. Sean and Rocky would have nightmares. Maybe one day they can share with you what nightmares they had. Sean would just randomly have convulsions. We'd gotten this, I think it was like a plastic tongue suppressor that we would use when he would go into convulsions. You would stick it in his mouth, and so he wouldn't choke on his tongue. Now you got to remember, we were only like 8, 9 years old when all this was happening. So, yeah, definitely a lot of nightmares. We still, to this day, some cases, we get extreme nightmares for, multiple days. What we've learned is to ignore it and they eventually subside and go away. Um, I don't necessarily think, having the nightmares means something's attached to us or anything like that. I think just always being in that environment where you're always dealing with dark and evil things, energy, um, you learn over the years how to best deal with it. And yeah, so we definitely do a lot of nightmares. A lot of you guys know I don't sleep a whole lot. Duke and I were up at 3 o'clock this morning. He's over on the couch sleeping. So if I sleep, from 11 to 3, that's typically all the sleep I'm required. So that's why I drink a ton of coffee. So Debbie Knight, it must be frustrating when you have to go back to places that you have blessed, still to have to fight the same evil. Little Sammy was adorable. He is seriously believe the way Josh and Sammy has a connection. Absolutely love you guys. Yeah, occasionally we do go back to locations. It just depends. It's case by case. Um, there's some families that you do an investigation, and I can remember one case we did down south. We worked with this lady, did the interview, investigated the cleansing, talked with her quite a bit, gave her a lot of advice on things that she could change to um, help things. And then we'd be 15 minutes down the road, and Sean would be scrolling through TikTok, and the family would be on TikTok investigating their house. So it's like all that time and all that work just goes right out the window because they're not taking our advice. So obviously, families like that, we just move on and move to a family that actually wants to help. I would say probably 99% of the families we work with genuinely want the help. You occasionally have a few that they want. I don't know if they just want to be on YouTube, or sometimes it's just us coming out and investigating their house, getting to meet us. So we do run into that, but it's like I said, we're really good at screening people nowadays. We have a process that we do. Obviously, we do make mistakes from time to time with certain cases we take on, but for the most part, we can only do so much. We go in, do the investigation, do the cleansing. We leave the families, every family we work with, we leave them with a ton of like blessed metals, extra cleansing stuff so they can cleanse their house for a couple more weeks after we leave. And then obviously we stay in contact with them just to see how things are doing. And yeah, it's just always case by case. I don't mind going to a place like with Sammy's case. Some of you guys may have, if you watched the original episode from that house, give me a thumbs up. When we first investigated that house, the lady that owned it was having experiences. The only reason Big Sam was there is because he was friends with this lady and referred us to her to investigate her house and do a cleansing. Now, when we first met Sam, it was a completely different house in a completely different part of Pennsylvania. So I know that confused a lot of people. But this was our second time investigating this specific house. But the original time we investigated, there was a lady living there. When she moved out, Sam and his family moved into the house. Everything was good for several months. Everything was good for a couple of years with the lady. Everything was good for a couple of months when Sam and his family moved in. And then they contacted us and they were talking to us about the activity that was going on there. So I know somebody said that it was just a repurposed case, but Duke, leave the kitty alone. Is it okay with God to talk about the dead? We do get that a lot. I would say we work with a lot of churches, a lot of bishops, a lot of pastors, a lot of priests, from all over the country, and a lot of them, watch our work. A lot of the cases that we're having a hard time resolving, we refer to them. So they'll watch, a lot of times, they'll watch the stuff before it's ever posted on YouTube or anything like that. And we've never had anybody, whether it be a priest, a bishop, a pastor at a church, say what we're doing is wrong. I think the line is when you get into, um, when we go into an investigation, one, we're not there to do anything crazy. We're not there to try to conjure anything up. Um, it's more of a fact finding mission, is we want to find out, one, is the home truly haunted? Why is this spirit trying to reach out and contact this family? So we're trying to figure out what triggered this haunting to take place. Because I don't believe that you just wake up one morning and all of a sudden your house is haunted. There has to be something that caused it to manifest and take place. Are the spirits reaching out for a specific reason? So that's the whole purpose of the investigation from our end. Once we do that, then we just go through the whole cleansing process and help move the spirits on, or rid the house of that dark energy. I think where you run into the problem is you have people that go into these locations, not so much residential cases, but like haunted locations, and they're doing all this crazy stuff, like trying to summon demons and doing tarot cards and Ouija boards and just all this dark stuff, and trying to actively communicate with these demonic entities or summon something to communicate with them. That's completely different than what we do. And I think our body of work over the past 23 years shows that. Um, the truth is, there's good and there's evil, living and dead. Um, there's a host of things that can manifest this dark energy and these demonic forces to come into somebody's life. A lot of families do things that they probably shouldn't be doing. They make that mistake and then instantly regret it. And then we come in to hopefully help clean up the mess. So yeah, a lot of, I think what we do is just educating people on, what not to do and what they can do to better themselves. So I think sometimes people get it confused, the Bible, because we get people sending us Bible quotes all the time. We know what the Bible says, and we're all three non-denominational Christians. Thank you, Blue Lady, for the donation. Greatly appreciate it. We are not going back to Marietta, Ohio this year. We're only going to be doing one event this year, and that's in Knoxville, Tennessee. So yeah, like religion wasn't something that we grew up on. Our household was like the furthest away from anything religious you could possibly think of. It was an elderly couple that lived down the road that, they stopped one afternoon and said, "Hey, do you mind if I take your kids to church with us, this coming Wednesday?" And that was our first time going to church. And we went to church a few times when we were kids. Like I said, religion wasn't something we weren't raised on religion. We didn't know a whole lot about religion. We went through what we went through as children, and it wasn't until we got a little bit older. I think I was already moved out at the time when I first started going to church, and so yeah, it wasn't something that was. I just know there's evil and there's good in this world, and we, as humans, obviously the three of us, we make mistakes just like everybody else does, and we just try to learn from that. This whole process from beginning to end has been a huge learning experience for us, and like I said, over the past 23 years, we've made mistakes and learned from all that, and what to do and what not to do when investigating. And at the end of the day, we get to pray with a lot of strangers a lot of people that are from different faiths. We've worked with atheists. We've worked with um, Muslims. We've worked with obviously Christians. We've worked with Jehovah Witnesses. We've worked with Mormons, and yeah. So I think anytime you get the opportunity to travel the country and work with a lot of strangers and just show them the power of God and what that can do for them is a good thing. And um, I guess we'll find out one day when our time comes if God was disappointed in us or happy. So, okay, we got Linda Hill. I'm going to get through these questions a little bit quicker. I don't want to keep you guys all night long. Linda Hill, will we ever get your story? I understand if it's painful, what great brothers you are. Yeah, we want to. We were actually so close to filming our entire story right before COVID hit. We were actually going to go, but we were talking to the family that lives in the house now that we grew up in. They were going to get a hotel. We were going to go there and film this. I don't know that we'd investigate the house, but we had probably filmed it outside of the house in the backdrop or whatever. But COVID hit, and all that got kind of put on the back burner, and we've just been so busy with life and um, working with families and all that stuff that we just haven't even had time to focus on ourselves. I think that's a good thing about what we do is we stay so focused on helping others and obviously our families that we don't really worry about us and what we went through. So it's definitely been very therapeutic for us. So Kelly and Donald, when are you doing Chasing Evil again? Chasing Evil is going to be coming soon. I know I've been saying that for a while now, but like I said, we've been so busy with Paranormal Nightmare and all these family haunting cases. Like literally, we are booked up through probably September with cases. So we need to find what we may start doing is shooting Chasing Evil during the week. And I definitely want to start back up Chasing Evil. I think we learned so much from the first season. Um, and I think law enforcement, and I even noticed this like towards the end of filming, it took us 4 years to film 3 episodes of Chasing Evil. So that's how much time it takes to film Chasing Evil and to do it right. Because obviously you're taking the case, like with Jamie Beasley, she's been missing for 3 months. Nobody knows where she's at. Nobody knows if she's dead or alive. All they know is she basically fell off the face of this earth. So when you go into a case like that, that's that old, she could be anywhere in the United States, like anywhere. And for a spirit to lead us basically directly to where she was at, I think that opened a lot of eyes in law enforcement. So towards the end of filming that first season of Chasing Evil, law enforcement was so open to working with us. And I think that's going to help us quite a bit, is just all of us being on the same page and all of us working together to find answers. So definitely Chasing Evil will be coming soon. I definitely want to do the Summer Wells case. We have reached out to the Summer Wells family, crickets. They had a spokesperson that was very rude. I don't know why she's the spokesperson for them, but we've worked other cases. We wanted to go down and do the Memphis, what was it, the Memphis 3? West of Memphis. Anybody remember that case? But they wanted, I think it was $5,000. It started out $10,000 for an interview with the family, and then they dropped it down to $5,000 an interview for the family, and we just said no. They said, there's one, we can't afford to pay $10,000 for an interview. Two, we would never do that. We're coming in to help you. But yeah, it was literally $5,000 an interview, and then like a couple $100 for every picture we used. And it was like, yeah, no, thank you. And that was from the family. Okay, Janet Chavez. Hi, Foreman Brothers. My question is, on the episode Demon with Richard, did you think he was unstable? Were you talking to a demon itself? The show was confusing. I think why that show confused, I think that was, I don't know if that was Demon House 2 or 3, the one with Richard. This was not an episode that we filmed some of this episode. This was not an episode that we edited. So it was like completely different than anything that you're used to seeing from us. I think that's why it felt so different. That was one of the cases that really messed with us the most out of all the cases we've ever done. Um, the case with Richard. And have you guys ever seen the episode we did with the Kane family in Brookville, Ohio? It was featured on a haunting series. That case messed with us as well. And then there's a case up north that a church referred to us, one of their members, and that case really messed with us. That's the one that Rocky's house was haunted after that. Second question, when are you doing an investigation? It seems to me you're always trying to think what she's saying here. Yes, I should have proofread this before I think she's still talking about the Richard case. I think that's why she is so confused, is because we didn't edit that case. That case, that was like 2012, 2013. Some of the footage, obviously, when we were in the house, we shot. A lot of the footage we didn't even film. So I think that's why that case looks so different than what you guys are used to seeing. Pam Brookman. Our first question would be, how are the three of you doing? We are doing very good. I would say in the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a lot better since we got to speak with the families from the accident. The night of the accident was actually the episode you watched last night. When we left Sam's house is when the accident happened. And for a week, no sleep, extreme nightmares, just probably the worst I think I've ever felt in my life. And I know Rocky and Sean were going through the same things, but that was the night the accident happened. And within the last couple of weeks, we've talked with both families. We've talked with, obviously, we talked with the wife. Her husband was killed in the accident. And so our prayers and condolences to the family. We're pray for you guys every day. We've got to get updates on all the kids. The kids, despite going through surgeries, and I think the girls got more surgeries to come. They're all alive, so we're extremely thankful for that. And yeah, definitely talking with the families helped a lot. Just from what we were dealing with. And you try not to think about yourself too much with that, because you weren't the one that lost a family member, and you weren't the one that lost a dad, and you weren't the ones that were in the emergency room fighting for your life and going through all these surgeries. But I think we're just not used to that type of trauma and ever witnessing anything like that in our lives. But yeah, definitely talking with the families has helped tremendously. So we're definitely all doing quite a bit better. I don't know where my chat went. She says, dealing with paranormal is not for the faint of heart. It takes a toll on you every aspect of your life. Until you've experienced it, this is hard. I understand it. Has certainly made me look at life differently. Sometimes I wonder, why did it pick me? Do you guys ever question that? We don't question it. We've learned over the years. Obviously, when we were younger, we questioned, why us, why our family. But at some point, you just you quit questioning things and you try to learn as much as you can and you accept things. And, um, I think we were put in that situation to relate to families, to relate to what they're going through. And yeah, so I think everything happens for a reason. And you just, even if it's a traumatic event, I think you can learn from it and grow from it and be a better person. Um, so yeah, I think everything happens for a reason. And even though it was horrible and sucked going through it, but I'm definitely proud of where we are today and how we've grown. And that's one thing my brothers and I had always promised each other when we were going through what we went through is we would always stick together and in life. And sure enough, we've remained the best friends throughout life. We've obviously three brothers on the road traveling all the time. We do argue from time to time, and we have our ups and downs like everybody else. But I'm definitely proud of them and how they've sticking with this, because there were so many chances that we had over the past 23 years just to say, enough's enough. This isn't worth it. But even when we would have those times where we were like, okay, let's reconsider, our life choices and what we're doing, you would take a couple weeks off and you'd want to get back out. The drive would be the drive, and the passion would want to get you back out on the road. And so I could definitely see us doing this for quite a few more years, God willing. We got Camelin. I think I pronounced that right. How you select your cases? Is there a priority you go by? From Sweden. Just learning. Um, Back when we first started, we'd investigate anything, anywhere. If you told us your shed was haunted in your backyard, we would be there in 15 minutes investigating it. Because, like I said, back then we were trying to soak up as much knowledge and experience as we could possibly do and learn more about the paranormal. And yeah, we definitely take, it's easy for us, like when we get emails or messages or anything like that, it's pretty easy nowadays for us to discern, how legit the case really is, depending on what they say. Is it somebody that just wants to meet us, have us out to their house? Um, that doesn't happen a whole lot. And then one of the biggest things right now is just how far away is it? We get cases from all over the country. We need to learn how to fly with our equipment. So if anybody's got tips with how to fly with equipment, we would greatly appreciate it. Our fear is to our equipment getting damaged or being lost, and then we'd really be screwed. So yeah, we've definitely, like I said, we've gotten really good at narrowing down cases. And um, the one thing that I learned early on, and this happened a few times, this is probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, some cases just didn't sound that interesting. And what I mean by that is the stuff that they said was going on didn't seem like it was anything that would concern me. And so we would put that case off, you know, for a month or whatever it was. We'd go investigate the house. It would be the most activity we've documented. It was like the best case. So that's the one thing I really learned over the years, is not to prejudge a case. But yeah, definitely if there's children involved, those take top priority. If we can see that the haunting has escalated towards a dangerous situation, that takes priority. Because with these hauntings, what I've noticed over the years is the same pattern: is they'll start off with little things here and there that you kind of dismiss, and they just gradually get worse and worse and worse. A lot of that just depends on how the family reacts to what's going on inside the house. If they really feed into it, then things tend to escalate quicker. Um, but the main thing is, are there kids involved? Do we feel like the family is potentially in danger? Um, So the big thing is getting out there, investigating, and doing the cleansing and all that stuff, and helping educate the family before it gets to that point to where it's extremely dangerous. Easy as pie question. Can you make a video describing your youth paranormal experience? I think I covered that. We will do that one day. I am just wondering if it follows the same path as other people have experienced. Yeah, that's the one thing that I've noticed over the years. And even with the case that we just filmed, we actually just filmed a documentary style investigation a week ago. I think it was a week ago. We were on the border of Illinois and Iowa, and it's going to be more of a documentary versus your typical investigation. And I think you guys will really enjoy this. But that's the one thing I've noticed with this family is just the similarities of what they were experiencing, what we experienced as kids, how these things ramp up and get worse and worse and worse. Um, just other things with the family, just related to us, like to a T with the dynamics of our family and what we went through. So that's the one thing I think helped prepare us dealing with these cases is not like we're going in and we're just listening to a story and filming an interview. We can actually relate to what the families are going through. And I think that helps have a lot of compassion and knowledge for what they're going through. So let's take a few questions from chat. I see a lot of people are still talking about the Annabelle doll. Trying to find some questions on here. Yeah, like I said, with the Annabelle doll, it's not anything. I know that things can be attached to objects like that. Was it something supernatural? Was it the doll? Was it just a freak accident that happened and just happened to be on tour with the doll? I don't know that. I don't think anybody will ever know that. Let's see here. When is the next live at your property? We will be back down in Tennessee on Wednesday, so we'll try to go live for you guys. Have your nightmares changed over time? Yeah, nightmares have definitely changed over time. I have not had that nightmare in a long time with the fireball. See if Twin Paranormal can give you guys tips. I'll have to reach out to them. I don't know if they'll respond to me, but I'll try reaching out to them. Maureen, what made you first go to church? When I started dating my wife now, her family was super into religion. That type of religion, like people that were like super into religion, was foreign to us, foreign to me. Just started going to like youth group, things like that. Still going to church, living the wild teenage life, and that's the one thing I've learned is you can go to church and be saved and all that stuff, but you're still going to make mistakes. And I think with Christ, it's more working from the inside out, helping somebody versus snapping a finger and somebody just immediately changed. So definitely my wife's family is what got me into religion. There's a question. Where is the question? Okay, this is how do you determine if a case is closed? Really, the only way that we determine if a case is closed is, is the family experiencing any more activity? Um, we stay in contact with the majority of the families. Some families just want to, go through the whole process and basically be paranormal, anything paranormal, like not even brought up in their life again. It's typically such a traumatic event, they just want to move past it and get on with life. So we don't talk to every family, but it's just we stay in contact. They know, all the families know, if they need anything down the road, then they can reach back out. Will you investigate Bobby Mackey's when it's rebuilt? I don't know. I'm getting to the point. Like I love the paranormal. I love history. I mean, the paranormal. Everybody thinks like the paranormal is just all about evidence and documented evidence, but there's also a lot of other stuff that, a lot of people that are into the paranormal are like huge history buffs. They love the history, um, but just something like we've done. We don't do a whole lot of haunted locations, um, just because like our true passion, what we really love doing, is family hauntings, working with the families, because it has more of a meaning for us. And I don't know that I would ever go back to Bobby Mackey's when it's rebuilt. I don't know that I have a reason to. I think the only reason we wanted to go there again was before it was tore down. Is, we knew it was going to be torn down, and it's Bobby Mackey's, and so that was really the only reason we did it. So I don't know. We may. I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if the new building would have activity in it or not, to be honest. We don't do a whole lot of alien cases. UFOs and cryptids, we don't do a whole lot. Although I do believe in UFOs, I believe in aliens. I could probably talk for hours on that subject. I think I believe in the UFOs and aliens and stuff more than I do with the cryptids. Obviously, there could be something out there that we don't know about, but what do you guys think? If you believe in UFOs, give me a thumbs up. Can you do the Crescent Sanatorium? Well, we were going to do the Crescent Sanatorium a few years ago, but they wanted $5,000. Was it 5,000 or 3,000? It may have wanted $3,000 for us to come investigate there, and we said no. A lot of thumbs up. Got a couple thumbs down. Yeah, I just have to believe with the entire universe, all these different galaxies, there has to be something. I mean, you're talking millions and millions and millions of planets. I think I read something. This could be not factually right, but I'm pretty sure it's right. Is if you go outside at night, you look up into the stars. There's like for every star you see, there's 3 to 4 planets in our solar system, in our galaxy, which I think our galaxy is the Milky Way. That's how many planets are just in our galaxy. So that's how many planets are out there. What is your scariest investigation? I would say it would be the Bartonville Asylum, and probably Penhurst. Family hauntings, there would be too many to try to narrow it down. Family hauntings to me are always the scariest because they're more in the moment, active investigations. When you go to a haunted location, like I said, we've been to Waverly Hills. I've been to Waverly Hills personally, I believe 3 or 4 times. First time Waverly Hills was crazy busy, crazy active. Second time, it was just a very quiet night, not a whole lot went on. Third time, I took my daughters, and it was a pretty active night. So old buildings are hit or miss. Family hauntings are always, I guess, more current in the moment. We know things are going on. Um, and also, the difference with family hauntings, why they seem to be more active than haunted locations, is I always feel like unless a family did something crazy and summoned something up and manifested something to take place in their house, the spirits are typically trying to reach out for a specific reason. So when we go in to investigate with them, they're more than open to communicate with us. Um, and so, like this case we just did last, I'm trying to think when we did our last case, was it Tuesday? Yeah, I think Tuesday we just did a case. One of the most intelligent hauntings I've ever witnessed in my entire life. Like I would have, I would ask a question, I would get a response from the spirit talker, and I would get the exact same response from the Epic Box, the yes no device, and then I would get the exact same response from the alarm. So, like, if I was sitting there and I said, "Are you in this room with me?" The spirit talker would say, "I'm standing right beside you." The Epic Box said yes, and the alarm right beside me goes off. And this happened over and over and over. Like, even though we've been doing this for 23 years, we've done over 4,000 cases. There's still some hauntings you go into, and it'll absolutely blow your mind. The stuff that you and and this was one of those cases where we weren't thinking. We go up, try to help this lady get some answers, figure out what's going on there, do a cleansing, pray with her, and but it literally turned out to be probably one of my top cases of this year. And see, that's what I always do. Is the reason we run so much different equipment is like the one thing I love is EVP. I think EVP is still the purest form of spirit communication. Um, there's nothing like when you're standing there, you're alone, you can't hear anything with your ears, and then you pick up a clear, disembodied voice talking to you. I mean, to me, that's the purest form of evidence possible. Obviously, we use all kinds of equipment when we investigate, and then you compile it all. Like if I'm investigating, I'm not getting any EVPs, really feeling nothing inside the house, um, and then all of a sudden the REM pod goes off. If that's the only thing that happens, I would say, you look at the case as a whole. If the only thing that happened the entire night was this REM pod randomly going off, then I would say the house is probably not haunted. And you guys have seen we've had cases that are just batshit crazy, and then we've had other cases where little to nothing ever happens. Now that's not to discount what the family's going through or anything like that, but yeah. So we just look at everything as a whole. Let's see. What do you think about spirits that haven't moved on? I think a lot of it's just energy. I'm huge on like energy. I know we often think about spirits as like a soul that's trapped here and hasn't moved on. Um, I believe that, when we die, we face judgment. But I also believe that somebody can die in a very traumatic event that takes place. And, maybe they don't realize that, they're dead, or, they're trying to get answers to a loved one, or if they were murdered, they're trying to help solve their crime and catch the murderer. There's a whole host of things I believe, and I don't think a spirit necessarily. I think chasing evil really changed our minds. Thank you, Kaza, for the donation. Greatly appreciate it. But with like chasing evil, that really changed a lot of our beliefs with the paranormal, because we weren't going to a haunted location. We weren't going to a location where we knew that there could be a spirit. We were literally going to some back road in the middle of the woods, asking the spirits questions and getting responses. So does that mean that spirits can communicate with us from anywhere at any point? And you're getting responses that you can't explain. Like I remember we were doing a few years when we were shooting the second season of Chasing Evil. We were down in Chillicothe, Ohio. We had, I'm going to set the scene up for you. We were down there filming. We were up on a bridge. There's 28 women that went missing in this one area, and 6 or 7 of the women, their bodies have been found. But one of the girls, her body was found, but we were up on the bridge trying to get answers. And we had 2 people from the sheriff's department with us as we're running the spirit box session. There's marked patrol cars off in the distance doing security, because this is a really bad area. A response came across the spirit box. I'll never forget this. A response came across the spirit box. The guy with the sheriff's department looked at me like he had just seen a ghost. And then he walked away. I looked at the lady and I said, "Did I say something wrong or do something wrong?" And she said, "No." She goes, "I think we need to go over there and talk." So we stopped everything. We went over there and I was talking to him, and he's one of the lead investigators with the case. And he said, it gives me chills even thinking about this. He told us, he said, there's no way with any logical reason why that response just came across. The only way you would know that exact response is if you're in law enforcement, you're the deceased woman, or you're the person that killed her. And that sent shivers down my spine. And what it was is, I had asked a question about her. I won't say her name or anything on here, but I'd asked a question, and the response came across like plain as day over the spirit box. Said, "I left a message on my cell phone." Like plain as day. Everybody heard it. Before this happened, she had typed a message on her cell phone. Whether she just didn't have a chance to hit send or forgot to hit send, but the message was never sent on her cell phone. And like I said, we're literally standing on the top of this bridge where this young woman had died, and it just blew everybody's mind away. So that got us thinking, are spirits able to communicate with us from anywhere? Does it necessarily have to be a haunted location? So I don't know if we ever, that was when we were shooting that episode. Shortly after we were there filming. I mean, there was even a car that pulled up when we were talking with the people at the sheriff's department. I remember a car flew in the parking lot, hit their brakes. I didn't know if we were going to get shot or what the hell was going on. The officers were freaking out, and the guy's like, "Hey, there's another body over in the ditch." Like, women's bodies are just popping up all over this town, like all over the place. And that day they found another woman's body in the ditch when we were out there filming. But shortly after we filmed that episode, I can't remember if we put that on YouTube or not. I'll have to look. But we started getting death threats. and we would get death threats nonstop, like social media and all that stuff, and they were very credible death threats. Law enforcement had told us to stay out of town and just keep low for a while, that they were working on it. And the gentleman that was behind all of this, I would say about a year later, was sentenced to life in prison. So that was the point where we kind of slowed down on chasing evil a little bit, because we love, like I said, we love helping people, but do we really want to put our family and um, ourselves in danger? Because we do spend a lot of time going on the roads, and so it's just something you have to think about. I'll have to look and see if I can find that. But yeah, that's chasing evil. Really, 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 one, validated for me that the paranormal was 100% legit, 100% real. Um, and two, I don't believe that a place necessarily has to be haunted to communicate with somebody. And when we do chasing evil, what we'll do is we'll start, obviously, we've researched some of the case. Okay, we know the girl was last seen here. So we'll start our session there. And basically, the spirits will lead us to another location. I'm telling you, when you get to the right location, it's like somebody flips a light switch, and the spirit and the energy is just so heavy. And the responses are so much better once you get into the right area. So we'll hit with chasing evil. If we don't have a whole lot of ideas of where the people are, we'll hit it, do a grid. Like, we'll go north of town, south of town, east of town, west of town. Where are we getting the best responses? Where are the spirits leading us? And we basically just let the spirits lead us to where we need to be, if that makes sense. But we are in talks with some chasing evil cases right now. If you could investigate one case all over again, what would it be? Thank you, Nancy, for the donation. Greatly appreciate it. What would it be? Well, that's a tough question. You guys got some good questions tonight. Ready? And say hi, buddy. I know. I won't stay alive much longer. You need belly rubs, huh? What would it be? I don't really have a whole lot of regret with cases. I know with like Cheryl's case, obviously when we left the first time, the guilt and the regret was killing Sean and I. That's why we went back. I don't know. I feel like we always try to do the best we can. Family, there's a lot of paranormal teams out there that do family hauntings. And thank you, Billy, for the donation. Have you thought about using GoPros? Yes, we do need to start doing that. And we actually have the chest mount and we have the head mount to have GoPros. The problem is when you get too many cameras going with too many IR lights during the investigation, you're always blowing cameras out. And you get sometimes you'll get, because we edit and review footage all the time, we're used to, okay, that was a lens flare, for the IR lights. And IR lights are notorious for lens flares. So when you're setting up your investigation, you try to set cameras up strategically. One, because you want to capture evidence, but two, you want to blow out. If I set a camera up on this side of the room, I don't want to blow out the camera on that side of the room, where it's a waste having that camera there. But yeah, so IR, anybody that's ever investigated with night vision before, it can be very tricky. There's very few teams that investigate with like complete darkness like we do. That's just something we've always done. Like we investigate. Anybody's ever investigated with us, you know how dark it is when we go in there. It's like pitch dark. You can literally not see the hand in front of your face. So all night long, we're looking at this little screen, and we do that because we've had so many cases where spirits tell us to turn the lights off or the lights too bright. I honestly don't think that spirits like bright lights, just from the responses we've gotten over the years. Faye, thank you so much for the donation. Greatly appreciate it. Love the paranormal family. We love you guys back. You guys are all amazing. Let's get a few more questions in here before I jump off here. Give me some good questions, people. You guys have had good questions tonight, I will say that. Nancy says, always glad to know you're safe when you do cleansing, but have you ever had a situation where you're, oh yeah, we've been followed home multiple times. And it's weird. You know, the strangest thing about when we've had attachments, and I shouldn't say attachments all the time. We've probably, like I said, we've done over 4,000 cases, been doing this for over 23 years, and I bet we've only had maybe 4 or 5 attachments over the years. And it's really, really weird is when you go into a case and it's like batshit crazy activity off the hook, you're thinking there's no way in hell that we're going to be able to cleanse this house and get rid of whatever's in this house. Those are always the cleansings that you cleanse and everything's perfectly fine afterwards. You have no attachments, nothing. When you go into a house and you feel like that dark presence, that impression, but you don't really document any evidence, like a whole lot of evidence, those are the ones that affect you the most after you leave. So it's completely weird. You would think it would be opposite, like the crazy cases would affect you the most, but it's typically the quiet cases that scare me the most. Let's see here. As far as I know, Amy Bree is still doing good. Matter of fact, I think I just talked to that family. I talked to the stepmom, what was it, a couple months ago? I think they moved out of that place and we're in a different place. Drop my chapstick. Would you ever investigate the battleship in North Carolina? I would. Being in a battleship would be pretty cool. We've never investigated a ship. We definitely should bring my brothers to Ohio City School again. Could you imagine Sean inside that school by himself? Deborah, Josh, loved last night's show from Kentucky. Thank you. We got Tressa. Hey, Joshy. Joshy's what I call myself. I know it's weird. Angela, do you have tornado shelter now? We do not have a tornado shelter yet. In the in Tennessee, we got to go down Wednesday. We're meeting the electrical company out there to do our telephone poles so we can get wires and stuff ran. The electrician's wiring up the building right now. Literally, I'll be probably moved down to Tennessee before the building's even built at this rate. But I know our good friend Casper is, him and his team's working hard on the building, and we greatly appreciate it. But as he knows, we've ran into roadblock after roadblock. Tennessee has no state income tax, but they have a shit ton of permits you have to get for everything. Like it might be one of the hardest states to build in. Caprice, what do you think about Annabelle and the recent death of the handler? If you go back, I appreciate your donation, greatly appreciate it. But if you go back to the beginning of the video, we talked about Annabelle. I have no proof one way or the other if it was paranormal related, if it was the doll, if it was just a coincidence. Um, I don't think anybody will ever know. Obviously, he died of something, and yeah, I just hope anybody and everybody that comes in contact with that doll just is safe, and really think about it before you go looking for something like that. Chris in Johnson City, love Johnson City. Me and my daughters have been to the mall there several times. Mike, thank you for the donation. Hello, have you all had the opportunity to collab with other channels? Or would you like to appreciate the cleansing and the blessing y'all do? Mike, we don't do a whole lot of collaborating. As you know, we've worked with a few other teams. Um, I know when we worked with Paranormal Files, Sean and I did the Randolph County Infirmary. I think the reason they invited us because we're only like 20 minutes away from that infirmary, so it's real close to us. They know that we've been there several times. It's kind of like our home away from home when we're out on the road. I will say they were a great team to work with. Loved working with him and his dad, but we don't do a whole lot of collabs. Like I said, there's some people that are just. There's a lot of people that are in the paranormal, and it's more of a social thing. Obviously, they love investigating the paranormal, but it seems it's more of to socialize and have fun investigating, which all that's fine. But like I said, our true thing is just we just love working with families. Um, when you work with family cases, that's the reason we don't go live when we're doing a lot of family hauntings. If we do, it's particularly sitting on the cars because we don't want to be disrespectful to the families and what they're going through. And so we would never probably collaborate. Well, we have worked with other teams on family hauntings, but yeah, we don't collaborate a whole lot. But there's a lot of good teams out there that I wouldn't mind working with. We talk to teams all over the country, all over the world, really. I was trying to see, there was another. Tarn, thank you so much for the donation. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the reply. I'm going to look for that Chasing Evil. Could listen to your stories for hours. Thank you, Tarn. You're probably the only one that could listen to me for hours. I think even Duke gets tired of listening to me. Duke, do you get tired of listening to me, buddy? Come here. You want to say hi to everybody? Come here. Yeah. You get tired of listening to me? Am I your best friend? Yeah. You're my best friend. His Apple tag's dinging. Is Kenzie in here? Yeah, I talk to Duke probably way too much. He's my buddy. Sometimes I think Duke's the only one that understands me. It's weird how dogs know like exactly how you're feeling, like if you're having a sad day. Just the look in his eyes will just like he knows it and he feels it. Yeah, Dookie. You're my buddy, aren't you? Chris, this has been an awesome and interesting live. Thank you guys for all being here. I appreciate it. And definitely before I jump off on here, just thank you guys all for your support, not only for my brothers and I, but just the prayers and the support and the kind words that you offer to the families. It really does take a whole lot for these families to put their story out there, basically be judged by the whole internet. The internet can be a very cruel and evil place. Sometimes I wish the internet never existed, but the good thing is the internet has brought our big family from people all over the world together. So there's good things with it, but that's the biggest thing is just the love and support and the prayers that you guys give to complete strangers. I just can't say enough how proud we are of you guys and the community that we've built over the past 20 some years. And just kudos to you guys. If you're watching this, if you've been one of those individuals that's been kind, I always say it easy to knock somebody down, but it takes a little bit more effort to extend your hand and lift them up. And as you guys know, the internet can be a bunch of assholes and people that would never say anything to your face, but they don't mind typing it in the screen, which I try not to give them any space in my head. But just thank you guys all from the bottom of our hearts. And I know the families, they tell us all the time, just how wonderful it is to go through and read the comments and um, just have thousands and thousands and thousands of people praying for you all over the world. And just shows 100% proves that even though like the media and some social media sites like to highlight everything evil because evil and negativity and hate sells, spaces like this really show that it's there's more good out there than there is evil. And even like when I go to like Paranormal Files, sometimes if I'm in like their live chat or Twin Paranormal, their communities are the same way as you guys. They're just all very welcoming, loving people. So kudos to all of you guys. And like I said, just thank you guys all for everything that you do. We do get a lot of credit for helping the families. I think we are just the catalyst. We are a tool that God uses to bring these stories to you guys. Um, we give him all the credit. We are just three normal guys from the middle of Ohio that experienced a lot, and we just want to do what we can do to help people and just do the best and just be the best versions of ourselves. And so what is it the you can what does Kenzie always say to me is you can Kenzie's in the chat, she can probably say it better than me, but you can talk about it all day long. It's the fruits of your labor that'll define you. So we try to be a positive light. Definitely as I get older, I'm more positive. If we would have been having this chat 15 years ago, I would have probably been bitching about somebody or complaining about somebody. And I think raising daughters and just growing older, you just learn just life is way too short to not enjoy every day and just let little stuff bug you. And plus, if we make a mistake, you guys call us out. We like to keep you guys happy. We don't like to disappoint you guys. See, now look, the chat's become a love fest. Life is hard enough without making it complicated. 100% agree with that. And that's one reason we try not to talk about like stuff that we're dealing with or stuff that we went through. We try not to focus on it because we realize everybody goes through shit and everybody has bad things happen and everybody has trauma. So we, I think we just try to focus. It helps us focus on other people's problems. Then you can avoid your own. Does that make sense? But like you said, life is just hard enough without complicating things and bringing in extra drama and things that really don't matter. At the end of the day, I believe we're all, nobody's going to be standing there when you're judged at the end of the day. It's going to be you and your maker. And how you chose to live your life, that's on you. So yeah, I'll let all of you guys get back to your, what is today, Saturday? But if you're new here, please take a second and subscribe. Make sure you smash the like button here on this live. If you haven't yet, please go watch the episode from last night. Pretty good episode. I know it's got a 9. This episode from last night literally has. We typically on our episodes, you'll get like your analytics and our channel average. The channel average is like your engagement is like likes versus dislikes. I know YouTube took the dislike button off there. I mean, you can still dislike a video, but it doesn't show you how many dislikes it has because they didn't want to offend people. But anyhow, you can go in your analytics and it'll show you likes versus dislikes. And our channel has a 99.1% approval rating, which is like off the charts on YouTube. But last night's episode literally has a 99.8 like versus dislike ratio. So thank you guys. That's how I can tell if you guys like the video or not, because if it's got like a 98%, then I know you guys didn't like it. If it stays in the 99%, then I know you guys liked it. And I'm sure Sammy reads all of your guys' comments nonstop. So, Sammy, if you're watching this, love you, brother. Hope you're doing good. Remember everything I said. We've worked with so many cases with individuals. A lot of them happen to be kids that have autism or on the spectrum. And I think even like Miranda, she was on the spectrum, but she was high functioning autistic or autism. And just something to that I think they're just more open to the paranormal, not like in a negative way, but just more open to it. And I've had so many families reach out that have autistic children or individuals that have autism themselves and 100% agree. So just thank all of you guys. And that's why I always wear my autism awareness. Had a few people reach out angry about the guinea pigs. They said I should have. The guinea pigs, we've raised guinea pigs and we have a massive cage for our guinea pigs, but I literally drug the cage into the bathroom because I think they were getting hungry. They thought I was going to give them treats. So they were squeaking. So I just want to get them out of the area. But Rebecca, thank you so much for the donation. You're amazing yourself. I probably got more hate over the guinea pigs than anything else. And I do appreciate everybody and your love and your passion for animals. I can promise you no guinea pigs were harmed during the filming of that investigation. I think the guinea pigs loved being in the bathroom. They were in a completely different room and they weren't listening to me talking to spirits. But I do think somebody left a comment. I do think maybe some of the scratching that Sean heard when he was in the hallway might have been the guinea pigs. So, was it Tara? Tara said something about the guinea pigs. Tara's like ripping me about the guinea pigs. No, I don't think you were ripping me, but you did say the cage was too small. Which our guinea pig cage is literally, I think ours was like a 5 foot or 6 foot cage, but we only had 2 guinea pigs in it. Tara says no. Tara, were you yelling at me in the comments over the guinea pigs? Yeah, at one time we had 4 guinea pigs. We had a dwarf rabbit, a bearded dragon, and a hedgehog. So our house was literally like a zoo. But yeah, so I'm gonna get ready to jump off here. I gotta feed the boys, and Duke's got to go pee. Duke, you gotta go potty. Duke, he must see a cat outside. But next Friday, we'll go live sometime next week in Tennessee. We got to run to the property, and then we got to be back, and we got to film a case here in Ohio on Saturday. Um, Next Friday will be the last Friday of the month, I believe. So we will not have a new episode out next Friday. I am working very hard on 3 very long episodes for you guys. Like I said, we're trying to get more. And let me know what you guys think about this real quick before I jump off here. Is we're trying to get more to, like with our investigations, more of like a documentary style versus like what you've seen with the traditional investigating, where we share more with you guys. Because what happens is we typically meet the family, talk with them for a little bit. We get all the cameras, everything set up. We sit down, do the interview. After the interview, we'll be shooting B-roll, but we'll also be talking with the family, just getting to know the family on more of a personal level and still learning more about them. But we typically don't film that because we're filming B-roll. But I think if we start including some of that stuff, more of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and more of a documentary style, so you guys can have more of a connection with the family and what's going on, aside from just sitting down and talking into a camera. But that's the episode that I'm editing right now. It's called "The Devil on the Tracks." Amazing, 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 and it's going to be like the documentary style. So definitely we'll put that out here in a week or so. And let me know if you guys like that format better, or we should just stick to the traditional documentary. But I think just sharing more of the whole journey and everything that's happening will help with you guys, getting to relate more to the family and understand fully what's going on. But I think I feel like with us, we've just done, like I said, we've done thousands and thousands and thousands of episodes, and it never gets old. But sometimes I guess it gets too monotonous. Like it needs to be more organic, because we get to experience all that, but sometimes we're just not filming it because there's a cat outside. Dude, leave the cat alone. And I think if we start sharing some of that stuff, I don't know. I'm going to try it though. You guys let me know what you think. I think you will love it. I absolutely love what we've gotten done so far with this episode. And I think, yeah, like I said, organic is good. I think sometimes you just get into, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. I guess you get into a routine. Does that make sense? And I think if we just make it more, obviously you can't do that with every case, because some families it's like, okay, let's shoot the interview, let us go to the hotel, you guys investigate. And they don't really want to be on camera as much. But I don't know. I think you guys will like this. It'll be out in a couple weeks. The Devil on the Tracks. One of our craziest cases ever. So everybody have a wonderful Saturday. Thank you guys all for listening to me ramble. How long we've been on here? 94 minutes. I told Duke I was only going to do this for like 30 minutes. So Duke, he's giving me like the side eye, like he's like super pissed. So thank you guys all. Everybody have a safe weekend. Much love and respect from my brothers and I. And we will see you guys all in a week. Not next Friday, but the Friday after. And we'll have a brand new episode out. So you guys all be safe. Go check out the new episode from last night if you haven't yet. And as always, Team Nightmare out.